welcome to this explainer. Look, we've all been there, right? You desperately need to know something, but you just know that coming right out and asking is going to completely shut down the conversation. Well, today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating psychological trick. It's a method that lets you extract highly sensitive information from people literally without asking a single question.
To really wrap our heads around how this works, picture this. You stroll into a Whole Foods in New York, and you spot someone stocking the produce section. Now here's the game. You have exactly 60 seconds to find out her exact hourly salary. But there's a massive catch. You are strictly forbidden from asking her any questions, and obviously you can't be weird or awkward about it. So how on earth do you pull that off?
This whole scenario really highlights the gap between our everyday instincts and actual psychological maneuvering. The direct approach? Well, that's just walking up and saying, "Hey, how much do you make?" But if you do that, you instantly trip her mental security alarms. It's super intrusive. But what if we tried the elicitation approach? You casually walk by and just confidently state, "Man, I read online that everyone here just got bumped to $26 an hour. That's amazing. What do you think happens?" I'll tell you. She's almost certainly going to turn around, correct you, and say something like, "What? No way, I only make 17. Boom. Just like that, you've got the exact number, and she doesn't feel interrogated in the slightest.
So the actual formal term for this psychological shift is elicitation. Simply put, it's the art of using statements rather than questions to gather intel. When you shift your communication from asking to stating, the person you're talking to actually feels like they're just voluntarily sharing information, rather than being, cross-examined. You're completely bypassing their mental security alarms.
Now, you might be wondering, where did this actually come from? Well, it's a legitimate CIA technique. It was originally laid out by a guy named John Nolan and his definitive playbook on the subject called Confidential. But here's the crazy part. You can't just stroll into a bookstore and buy it. For reasons nobody really knows, the book was mysteriously yanked from the shelves. Nowadays, you can basically only find it hidden away in random eBay auctions.
All right, let's crack open this spy toolkit. We're going to look at the 3 specific layers you can use to totally bypass anyone's conversational defenses. We'll be breaking down how to correct the record, bracket ranges, and feign disbelief.
So, diving right into layer 1, correcting the record. This step totally exploits human nature's built-in urge to fix inaccurate information.
To really see this in action, let's look back at some classic historical espionage. The core idea here is that people absolutely love to correct you when you say something wrong. It's just hardwired into us. Back in the early days of the Cold War, Soviet spies actually used this against US Navy sailors all the time. Picture this: a Russian spy sitting in a bar in Singapore, wearing some ridiculous Hawaiian shirt, just casually chatting up a 19-year-old sailor. Instead of asking for classified submarine specs, which would obviously be a red flag, the spy just confidently states that German submarines are way faster than American ones because their propellers are 22 feet across. Well, that slightly drunk sailor, feeling pretty defensive of his Navy, immediately corrects the record. He accidentally blurts out the highly classified truth that their propellers are actually 18 feet. He gave up state secrets literally just to prove a stranger wrong in a bar.
But hey, you definitely don't need to be a Cold War spy to use this. Try this next time you get into an Uber. If you ask a direct question, like, "Are you satisfied working for Uber?" you're probably going to get a super generic, guarded answer. But if you sit in the back and confidently state that you just read an article saying Uber drivers are the absolute most satisfied employees in the entire country, I can almost guarantee your driver's going to whip their head around and start correcting you. They'll open right up about how they really feel, and their guard will never even go up.
Okay, moving on to layer 2, bracketing. This is where you offer a range of data to essentially force your target to narrow down the truth for you.
Let's say you're dealing with corporate espionage, right? You need to figure out exactly when a rival company is secretly relocating. You're definitely not going to walk up and ask, "Hey, when's the move?" Instead, a corporate spy might casually mention to an executive that they heard the big move is happening sometime between March and May. By throwing out that specific bracket, you trigger their irresistible urge to correct the record within that window. The exec will probably scoff and say, "Actually, no, it's in February, but keep that quiet." And just like that, you've extracted the exact timeline without asking a thing.
And that brings us to layer 3, feigning disbelief. This is all about pushing back on their statements to make them justify their own secrets. So once they slip up and give you that hidden piece of intel, like that secret February move date, you don't just say thanks and walk away. You lean into it. You feign disbelief. You look at them like they're crazy and say something like, "Come on, there is absolutely no way the CEO is moving everyone in February. It's freezing and interest rates are way too high right now." This makes the target dig their heels in. They'll start spilling even more sensitive internal logic and business secrets, entirely unprompted, just to prove to you that they are right.
The beauty of this is that you can organically string all these layers together in normal, everyday conversations. First, you state an observation. Try guessing someone just got back from a trip by saying, "Wow, you look like you just got back from vacation." When they correct you and say, "No, actually, I've been totally swamped with projects," you validate them. Just say, "Wow, that sounds intense." Then, hit them with the disbelief. Say something like, "But hey, sounds great. I bet there were 0 roadblocks, just 100% flawless execution." Claiming their super stressful project was a total breeze will naturally agitate them just enough that they'll start venting, volunteering all the real, sensitive challenges they actually faced.
If you want to start using this yourself, you've got to swap out your conversational toolkit. Start swapping your question marks for conversational building blocks like the word "so." Like, "So, you've been doing this for 3 years." Or try using the phrase, "I bet," as in, "Man, I bet you had to overcome a whole lot to get to this level." These tiny little tweaks instantly transform your standard, alarm-triggering questions into incredibly powerful disarming elicitation statements.
Now, obviously, context is everything here. You have to know when to use which approach. If you just want totally safe, everyday info, like finding out how a coworker likes their coffee, a direct question is absolutely fine. "How do you take your coffee?" is harmless. But if you're trying to bypass someone's guard to get to the sensitive stuff, looking at their cup and saying, "I bet you actually hate that coffee," is going to open the floodgates. They'll naturally correct the record and give you the real story.
It really all boils down to this one brilliantly simple golden rule of elicitation. The more sensitive the information is that you need, the fewer questions you should be asking. Questions inherently create friction and suspicion. Statements, on the other hand, create this psychological slippery slope that people just naturally want to slide down by volunteering the truth.
Understanding how our brains react to statements versus questions completely flips the script on how we communicate and gather intel in our day-to-day lives. So now that you know exactly how to bypass these mental security alarms, how are you going to use these conversational skeleton keys to unlock the world around you? Seriously, what sensitive truth will you accidentally uncover using just a simple statement today?